Hello, my name is Matthew, as you all know. My presentation this week is about is society killing education. Peer pressure is just one of those examples I've used to sort of look at this in a hopefully scientific way. Yeah. The last couple of weeks I've read some interesting blogs and I've seen some interesting presentations. Some of the titles are is Education Kill Creativity, quite a good blog. How society is failing us, the negative effects of exams, which is one of my own, and how education should be doing more to accommodate disabilities. The question I have is, what effect do we have on each other in education? How do we as a learner affect how we are educated? Obviously, how we learn in an educational environment doesn't just affect us, it affects others as well. I've read a lot this week about this sort of subject, and there's a study, well, it's not a study, a book by Rosenthal 2011, and she asked the question, she questions the conventional wisdom of parents. A lot of people believe that parents are the key to how a child is shaped, and she's saying basically no, once the genetic line is passed on, then the parent's job is done. You can basically as a parent choose your child's peer group, where you live, what school your child goes to, religious group. But once the child is part of that peer group, then basically the parents lose all sort of form of control, and it's the child's peers that do most of the behavioural shaping. Peer pressure can be a powerful influence, as we all know. It affects us all. It's made us all who we are. We do, as individuals, we analyse how other people think, but we never really look at ourselves and question how we perform. How do we affect our own education? Peer pressure in a study from Fabes and Hainish et al. 2011, they state that peer pressure can affect us right from the first day of school, from our first interaction with other people. The peer pressure it takes action right at that point. The peer pressure can have a lasting effect. It can follow a child through, once you're part of a certain peer group, it'll follow a child through school, through life really. So I mean, the decisions you make, the job, partner, everything's peer pressure can affect you, well, most of your life. There are negative effects of peer pressure. Parents and teachers see the same sort of view. Alcohol consumption, drug misuse, physical health, mental well-being are all affected by peer pressure. Bullying is a basic form of peer pressure. Peer pressure can increase a child's or young adult's influence, increasing the risk to abuse drugs, abuse alcohol. I know it's a bit extreme, but it can get to that point, because the thing is with alcohol and drugs, they are habit forming, and once you've been introduced, then it's pretty hard to break the habit. But there are also positive sides to peer pressure. You have cross-age peer mentoring, where you have younger students being taught by elder students, and this is in practice in Bangor. The food group, the food dudes. This is the peer presented learning, is how they sort of enforce healthy eating and so on. It can improve a child's self-confidence. It can not only improve it, it can sort of decrease it as well. Obviously, when there's a positive, there's obviously a negative. and it can also increase the child's self-worth. Are we right to use this as a tool in education? Are we not just teaching our children that it is a tool and it can be used for personal benefits, personal gains? Deplete 2011 said that as a society we should teach, as a power society, we should teach our children about the rules of implicit and explicit sort of power. We should teach them to understand that you as an individual there are consequences to your actions. You have power, you can influence other people influence you, and would it not be better for society to teach this child this at a young age? Because obviously behavioural problems in classrooms can be made worse by the presence of others. And also it empowers the student as well, and they think more a better understanding of your own sort of abilities and your own sort of. I mean, it's a good thing. That's the end. Short presentation, but I'm banking on questions. Hello.
Matthew.
Mr. Jess.
You're familiar with Ash's conformity studies?
Yes, I am.
Should any of this surprise us?
No, it doesn't. But, as I said, I've read a lot of blogs, I've seen the sort of presentations. We're all built to blame. Education, we're looking for someone to blame. Do you mean, instead of saying, well, hang on, mate, I am a learner, I need to take responsibility for my own actions. Why not teach a child that from a young age?
What happens in Ash's conformity instructions, or conformity experiments, we also know that that's highly resistant to training. You get a whole different situation, a whole different setup, and people will conform anyway.
Yeah, but giving someone the understanding
that they will conform.
That they will conform, but isn't it? Obviously, if you have a better understanding, at the moment we don't have any understanding. We go through an education, we go through a peer system. We know there's negatives and positives because people spend a lot of advertising telling us it's wrong.
But Matthew, the research tells us that understanding that doesn't change the behaviour.
Some of it does.
It changes your understanding.
Rosenthal 2011 says different. Says it can and it should be taught. How do we know? Unless we start teaching at a young age, how do we know? Sorry.
The Ashes, where there were 3 different lengths of lines, and you had to say
2 seconds, ladies. Right, who's first? Go on, hit me with it.
You said that you should teach children from a young age that they have power. Do you not think that children could abuse the fact that they know they have power? So, like, if they're acting out, playing out in class,
they're abusing it anyway.
Knowledge that they have more
Do you mean
power.
they are abusing it anyway? Do you mean the bullying is on the rise? Peer pressure, alcohol consumption is quite common in schools at a young age. I didn't read.
They figure out very young that they do have power. They manipulate their parents from the time.
Yeah,
like, you know,
from an early age. So
18 months old, they're manipulating parents and grandparents to get them everything they want.
But do you think that sort of teaching them to understand that is right and wrong? Because you make your own sort of mind up. You are right. Understanding isn't really going to change a lot if we're going to use it. But don't you think that teaching everybody the same to sort of understand that right is wrong? So even if you were doing wrong, she knows it's right. She knows right and wrong. Hello, Mr. MacArthur.
Hello.
Hello.
Surely what you've been explaining here sounds quite similar to like collaborative learning within the school.
Yeah.
Where you give the information to the student and students responsible within a group of students to learn with each other, as we had within stats during the first and second year. So wouldn't that be one way of making this peer pressure that you're talking about beneficial in the classroom?
Yeah, it would be one way, but how old were you when you were taught collaborative learning? You're in university now, this is the first year I heard about it. Do you mean, why not introduce that at a younger age? I'm going blind. Why not teach that right from the start? As Mr. Martin's pointed out, yeah, conformity is basically down to the child, and people will conform. But an understanding of conformity at a young age gives you a bit more, you can make a bit more of an informed decision. We're not asking, it's not going to change the world, but if it makes a small difference, it will have that knock-on effect. It wouldn't be just education, it would be society that would benefit.
But like social psychology says, like it's sort of we're natural to conform to peer pressure, things like that. Though, is it sort of could we change it, especially in a young age? Could we actually teach children? Will they listen, or will the sort of nature of us just to sort of conform?
We don't know.
Would that not overpower?
We don't actually know. We could mix it. Like I sat through your religious RE thing last week. It was quite interesting. Do you mean? But why not mix that sort of teaching and learning in with our lesson? Because as far as I'm concerned, there's no bigger peer groups than religion and other things. So why not use that as an example? Do you mean?
We've discussed a whole selection of different ideas for gaining some form of conformity or another. Is there any ways that we can address this that doesn't result in getting kids to follow an adult's version of how things should be? I
don't know. As I said, should there be? Doing the research is very sort of vague. People are always looking for something to blame. Conformity, Ash, everything. Everything's looking for a reason. Now, once do we stand up and say, well, what's my part in this? Because we're not taught to from a young age. Do you mean today most of the presentations are how to make education better, but isn't education necessarily the thing at fault? Yes, sir.
I have to think about what we know and we have heard about metacognition and critical thinking. I think those are two elemental factors that would enable us to reflect on our own actions and
yeah, correct. But why not implement that at a young age? The metacognition man was very right what he's saying. But this implementation doesn't come into university. Why not at secondary? Why not at infantry level? The younger the better. Why are we sort of dragging our feet? Because that's basically what we're doing. Anybody else?
Matthew, one minute.
Finish now.